For months now, maybe a year actually, I've been nervous for Spider-Man No Way Home. Why, you ask? Well, I fell in love with the MCU because it's a shared universe where everything makes sense and doesn't contradict each other. That is very important to me. And that first Spider-Man film, Homecoming, they put a little tiny dent in that. I mean, 8 months, 8 years later. But hey, I can live with that. But the rumors surrounding No Way Home makes my hair stand up, and not in a good way. It's everything I don't want to happen. The thought of connecting non-MCU movies to the MCU on whatever way is something I absolutely don't want or need, actually. Um, so I want to keep my precious MCU intact, the way it is. I really hope the first trailer will ease my mind and take away those fears. I need that. So Sony, please drop the trailer. I need some rest in my head. Hello and welcome to the podcast of Champions, episode 12. Today, Arch and I are gonna talk some pop culture franchise stuff. Just give our opinions on how those franchises have been doing and what they're going to do, and what we're looking forward to, what we like, what we dislike. Well, we'll see. But before we start doing that, I would like to invite you all to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, or join us on Sakar at sakar.freeforums.net. Well, Arch, we're just going to talk now. Well, we'll start with Marvel. We are now well into Phase 4. We had some outings. We had WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Black Widow. How are we liking Phase 4 so far?
I think it's exciting. I've always said, as you well know, that they were going to be playing with house money, once they got through the Infinity Saga. Mm-hmm. And I think they're doing that. I mean, I think they've given us a lot of really different sort of unique things. They're not bogged down, at least at this point, with connectivity or pressing towards a certain goal. I mean, they probably are trying to do that or starting certain things, but we don't know exactly where all that's going yet. But it just feels really free and enjoyable, and we're not worried about, how it gets to anything. So WandaVision's been very different from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which has been very different from Loki, which has been very different from Black Widow. So the projects they've got so far are all unique, and I've enjoyed them for really what they are. And I thought they've done a great job in just kind of just being free and exploring sort of new territory, which I thought's great. Elevating some of those lesser characters that haven't been main eventers just yet to their own stuff. So I think that's all great at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I like about it too. I mean, I actually watched Marvel's Assembled on Disney Plus earlier this week about the making of Loki, and they said that Loki had less than 2 hours of screen time in the MCU up until Loki, the show, and he is such an important character to the Infinity Saga,
right.
and to what Marvel Studios has been doing in those first 23 movies, and he only had 2 hours of screen time out of, well, let's say 46. So it's 23 times 2, huh? It's usually 2 hours, so yeah, you have 46 hours of MCU. So it takes you 2 days to watch the Infinity Saga. Oh, okay, that's another story. But and then so you get an in-depth look. It was even worse with Wanda and Vision. I mean, we saw them in a few team-up movies, and they were not main characters. Right. Wanda maybe a bit in Age of Ultron, but only a bit. Right. And she was important to the story. Like Civil War wouldn't have happened without Wanda. Right. Age of Ultron was, of course, very important, which actually was the birth of Vision, basically, that movie. But
one of my favorite moments, by the way.
Yeah. I saw that second trailer where they show the eyes at the end, but I know you didn't, so you were completely blank when you saw that happening.
It's awesome.
So, but those characters were never really explored, and especially WandaVision, what they did with Wanda was impressive, actually, to me.
I agree. No, like especially the personal moment when we got to like episode, I can't remember which one it was, 6 or so,
I
when
know.
they
I think it was episode 8 where they went back into her history.
building your house. Yeah. But even the first couple episodes, I thought were great for not delving deep into the story and just letting them hang out and live, and we just got to see them a little bit. Just having a family life and that type of thing. Even though it was in this context fictional, I still thought it was really cool to give them that time to breathe. Same thing I told you when Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going on. I think one of my in our reviews, one of my comments was I just love that scene where the whole group of them are just walking down the street, like.
Yeah.
Just seeing these people like in kind of a real environment was really cool. I thought
It's that actually gives you the feel of the shared universe,
right.
that it can happen that I don't know, Loki meets Rocket, and those kind of things, they can happen. I mean,
Right,
they didn't happen yet, but they can happen, and it will be perfectly normal because those are characters that exist in that world, so they can meet.
You know what? And I watched your last review of Loki as a team. I wasn't on that one myself, but you guys were talking about you were just a little concerned with the MCU going too cosmic. I think we're okay with that because as we've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's still been very personal. Definitely with Black Widow, it was super personal. So I don't think everything is going to be massive.
Actually, if you look at it, WandaVision was kind of magical. Loki was really cosmic. Almost meta, if you want it. It deals with the direct time and with the multiverse and everything. We will get to that later in a minute. But and then you have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was actually just well, I wouldn't call it street level because therefore the Falcon is a little bit too much in the air, but but
literally.
It's really down to earth, and then the same goes for Black Widow. There's not much superpowers involved. There's nothing magical about it, or nothing cosmic about it, or nothing meta about it. It's plain and simple. It could be a single standalone thing, and it would be just an action flick, if you know what I mean, or something like that. Yeah. So I actually don't share that concern what some of the champions said on the last week on the review of Loki episode 6. But what you said earlier about the big thing they're building towards, I think they did that first major step last week with that reveal of Kang in the Loki season 1 finale.
Okay.
I think Kang will be very important in the next few years of the MCU.
I think so too. I don't think. I mean, we know he's showing up in Quantumania, but I don't think that's the end. If that's the end, I'd be shocked. But if I had to guess, and it's hard to guess with these things, but it seems likely we're going to see like a couple different versions of him, perhaps, and all leading to some sort of larger payoff. I just thought it was a really cool idea to have a villain introduce himself saying, "Hey, I'm the good version of this villain," and telling you he's going to get like an even worse version. That's just like such a cool concept. Like I don't know how else you would do something like that, but it was really a cool way to do him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the idea dropped by some of the champions. I don't know who it was exactly, but that you get maybe multiple villains working, not maybe together, but next to one another towards their evil plans. That could actually lead to a new Avengers movie. Like if they were to drop Doom, or the rumors are there that Namor is going to be in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Right.
You could have like countries like Wakanda, Atlantis, Latveria at war. Which requires the Avengers' attention, but you can also simultaneously have Kang work his thing. So that could all be very interesting what is going to happen in the next few years in the MCU, to me.
No, I agree. I think there's a potential here. It's really hard to say where they're going with this, but like obviously they're building sort of like a Dark Avengers, Thunderbolts type of thing, something like that in the background. And I could see that playing out on its own. with it maybe leading to something like a Doctor Doom, because he could tie into that sort of thing, and then along with like maybe an Illuminati or something like that. If you've got Namor coming in, I don't know what they're doing, but I could see that all leading, and then like kind of dovetailing back into the Kang story later on, and having that be Avengers 5. Well, like, I never bought much. You know this. I never really thought much about Secret Wars. People were saying that a lot, but all of a sudden you have Kang and you have this multiversal thing, and I'm like, yeah, Secret Wars could definitely happen now.
Yeah.
And as you know, Doctor Doom ties in heavily to that, at least the original story. So I mean, all that's on the table at this point.
Yeah, and the Grandmaster is also still around.
That's true.
Has his contest of champions been stopped? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
You actually stumped me for a second there, because I thought you were talking about yourself, and then I realized you were talking about Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, actually, I was talking about my dear friend Jeff. But anyway, yeah, no, there's lots coming on. I mean, if you look at the near future of the MCU, we get our first animated show, What If. Some people are saying it will be stories from different timelines that now exist because He Who Remains was killed by Sylvie.
Right.
So it would be actually stories from those timelines which will be canon in some sort of way. Others will say it will be a standalone thing which will not be really in the MCU as as official canon. Of course, for the movies we get very soon, within a few weeks actually, week 6 weeks, we get Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings.
Awesome.
And of course, on Disney Plus live action, Miss Marvel is showing up soon, somewhere soon, at least what I hear.
When's that coming? Did they announce a date for that?
No, they didn't announce a date for that. But what I understand is that the moment What If starts to stream on August 11, right. We will get every week we will get new Marvel content, whether it's a movie or a show or I guess when the 10 episodes of What If are done, so that's basically somewhere end of October. Right. It could very well be we get Miss Marvel, and then right after that we get Hawkeye. So, because that also is late 2021, and I don't think they will do simultaneous shows on Disney Plus.
Yeah, probably not. I don't see why they would. I'm really looking forward to Hawkeye now, though. There's a Black Widow link a little bit in there, and it seems to have a future implication. So I'm looking forward to that. You know what? I agree with you. I think Taylor was the one I noted most prominently talking about this, but there were somebody else, a couple people out there agreed with it. I can't remember exactly who, but I also think that What If probably isn't going to have any sort of big impact. I mean, you could probably look at it as alt realities, but I'd be a little surprised if any of that. Maybe one or two things tie back in somehow, but I doubt much of it does, especially with so many episodes.
Well, there's a rumor that we will get a live-action Captain Carter, actually. That rumor surfaced late this week in one of the, I believe it was Hawkeye, that a Captain Carter, the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange, that live-action Captain Carter would show up. So
bring back Haley Atwell?
Yeah, if that's the case.
I'm all for it if they do it. I'm not gonna start getting too hyped for that. But I mean, you can tell I'm excited. I would be excited for that if they do it.
I told you many times before, and I will tell you again. Haley Atwell is the best girl in the MCU, and I will die on that hill.
She's amazing. She really is. If you haven't seen Agent Carter, I know you have, but if anybody hasn't seen Agent Carter, they really should. It's a good show.
Yeah. There's also one shot Agent Carter, which is also awesome. So I recommend that too. But
there's a one-shot comic for Agent Carter?
There's a one-shot, how do you say it? One-shot movie.
Okay.
The one-shots. Funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer, etc. Well, There's also one called Agent Carter, which is not related to the TV show Agent Carter, but it's actually a sort of a prelude to Agent Carter, the TV show. You haven't seen it?
I feel like I did, but I'm struggling to remember it right now. We don't have to go over it. I'll check it out and make sure I have seen it. I feel like I have, but
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm safe to say the future of the MCU looks exciting, and
yep.
although they're doing wildly different things,
Right.
It's all somehow still connected.
I think it's great. I think they had, like I said earlier, I think they had the freedom once they got clear of it to do anything they wanted, and I think they're doing that, which is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I still love what Marvel Studios is doing, except I still have that fear I was talking about in my opening for No Way Home.
Right. Can I talk about that for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I know you and I have shared that fear for a long period of time. So we've been on the same page. I'm slightly diverging from that, and it's mostly because of Loki. I mean, I think Loki successfully established what a multiverse can be in the MCU. They successfully established that you could have wildly different variants of something of a character. So I don't. I'm much more comfortable than I was. I was extremely nervous, as you were, for a long period of time, and it was mostly because it seemed like such a random idea, but it's not random anymore to me. It seems like it does have a foundation, at least, in happening. But I share with you that I don't think they're connecting. I won't make a prediction. They might be connecting to Raimi, but I still feel like there's a likelihood here that maybe they bring in Toby, maybe they bring in Andrew, and that they're variants of Peter Parker, but not necessarily from the movies you guys have seen them in.
That's what I'm hoping for. If they are in that movie, and despite the trades not having confirmed it, I still believe they are.
Right.
I think they're gonna be variants, but not necessarily the ones we saw before in the Amazing series or in the Raimi series. So basically, what they did with JJJ in Far From Home,
right?
It was the same actor, same character, but not the same iteration of that character, which we also discussed at an earlier podcast as well. So, well, yeah, I hope they go that way. I just don't want those movies connected to the MCU. Those movies were fine, and they are great in their own way, but I just don't want that connection to the MCU. That's basically how I see things. But yeah, I know I'm a minority.
No, I'm on your page. You know that. Like, so I've long said that everything doesn't have to jump in. Like, just because this has been such a successful franchise doesn't mean everything else just gets to glom onto it. And I find that kind of weird. Like, so I appreciated the Raimi films as well. I don't cling to them anymore at this point. I do think we've just gotten better than that. So I don't feel a need to say that those need to be a part of it. But I mean, I think a cameo from Toby, or even him being some other different variant, is a really cool idea. I just don't understand the whole series has to be connected. I don't understand why that's a thing. Like that particularly isn't exciting to me. But a Toby cameo, yeah, bring it on, man. I think that would be a great thing to do. And I actually, as you know, really love the Quicksilver cameo at this point. I know a lot of people are bent about it. I don't really know why, because I thought that was like kind of brilliant.
I thought it was the ultimate troll, and Marvel loves the troll in fans. So I absolutely adore that.
It was so great.
The boner joke was a lifesaver for me, so I absolutely adore that. So no, I adore boners. No, that's a different thing. We cut that out. No.
I always have to say this: the boner joke. Everybody knows that was a Family Ties reference to the character Boner on that show. I just want to always throw that out in case, because a lot of people don't realize there was that sort of level to it. But anyway.
Okay, we dropped almost every MCU content coming in the next 6 months or so, except one, and that's Eternals. That movie is also still happening. I have a feeling it will be a very special movie. It's not gonna be your day-to-day comic book movie.
I agree. I don't. know that I have a lot to say about it. I mean, I get the feeling that it's going to be kind of special in the sense that Loki is. It's just going to be very different. It's not going to be what Loki is, but it's just going to be very different, very historical. It's going to span a lot of period of time. I don't know. I mean, even from the trailer, I don't know that there's. I don't have a lot more to say about it. What do you think about it?
I think it looks beautiful,
Right.
I think it will be a lot of character work, and it will be a lot of dialogue. And I have the strong feeling the love story between Icarus and Cersei. If I correct, those are the characters played by Richard Madden and Gemma Chan.
Right.
Will be integral to the movie. You get that shot of those three. They are like a lovers pair, like lovers couple in three different time zones, maybe even in three different shots right behind each other in the trailer.
Right.
So I think that will be the heart of the movie.
Right.
And yeah, I think we need a second trailer which will show us more about what the story is about. And I think all those doubting MCU fans, like our good friend Jeff, yeah, we'll get on board then.
Jeff's a little doubting sometimes, but the what was I thinking? I don't watch a lot of trailers. You mentioned that earlier. This is one that I thought I might actually watch the second trailer because they really didn't show a whole lot in the first trailer. So I think I'm willing to watch the second trailer for this just to get a little bit more of a taste of.
Yeah, you just get a taste of the aesthetics, and
right.
and you see some. Well, there were some cool shots in it, and
yeah.
Yeah, but what it's actually about, and how awesome it may be, we
right.
have no clue. It's a mystery to me, and I actually like it. And yeah, I hope it will be great.
I'm actually, as you know, I'm a huge fan of like any of the past historical stuff that they do, any backstory shots from 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago, whatever. Like, and I'm actually most interested in that at this point, like knowing what the Celestials are and hearing that history, since we've been given a little bit of history on them so far, but I'd love to. I'm wanting to know what is up with that more than anything. The deep history of the cosmic universe. I'm really interested in that.
Well, since we're creeping up on Shang-Chi, we should get a second trailer for Eternals pretty soon as well.
Right.
Right along next the first teaser for No Way Home. Scary.
That'll be big. That'll be big.
And the first trailer for the Multiverse of Madness can't be far away, because I think we got Captain Marvel in October, and that also was released in March, like Doctor Strange 2 is planned. So also that can't be far away. Well, lots of exciting things coming for the MCU. But I think it's time to move on to different or another pop culture franchise.
Let's do it.
Well, let's talk about DC a little.
Okay.
Well, DC is not so active as Marvel. They have been, of course, we had earlier the year, we had Wonder Woman 1984. Let's not open that can of worms. We had the Snyder Cut coming out. We haven't really been discussing that on the podcast, also because of lack of podcasts. But and yeah, little teaser. There's a DC podcast still in the can, and now somebody is making cringy smileys.
I'm working on it. I was going to tell you before we started, but part 3 of that one is kind of close. I've got a couple little things to do on that, but we got part 3 of the DC chat, which we released quite a while back at this point. But that's pretty close. I'm telling you, it's pretty close.
Okay, good. And well, now we're 2 weeks away from the release of the Suicide Squad, made by James Gunn. Well, did you see the trailers for that?
Yeah, I saw the first one, and I was into it actually. Like, I thought it was pretty good. I you know what? It's funny because in releasing, I'll just briefly cover this. In watching back the part 3 of our DC chat, like I feel like I was kind of soft on that, but I don't, you know me. I don't like where they've gone. I don't like what they've done so far. But I did think the Suicide Squad, for what it is, looked pretty good. I thought the first one was just one of the most brain dead films I've ever seen. But this one, I think it looks like they've got some interesting stuff going on.
Yeah,
I trust James. I know he's done a lot of good stuff, and he's really into characters. Is what he loves to do. So I expect something pretty entertaining and good and smart out of this. So I'm looking forward to it.
James Gunn at least knows story and characters is more important than corny jokes and action scenes.
Right.
And I trust James Gunn because I adore both Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Right.
Volume 2 is one of my favorites in the MCU. It's a masterpiece. So I hope we will get a very good movie for DC, one that I will thoroughly enjoy.
Right.
There have been some in recent years. I mean, I really enjoyed Shazam. I really enjoyed the Justice League, the original movie. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It wasn't a good movie, but I enjoy watching it still to this day. I actually really liked their Arrowverse. I don't know how much you've seen of that, but I think it's zero. Well, I think it's actually quite good. And if you look at TV on TV, you can compare it to actually the MCU.
I take that back. It's not zero. I've watched a couple of episodes of Supergirl, and so here's my thing with DC. And I'm not a DC guy, but I've watched a few of their products, and I just every time I watch one, I regret it. I just do. Like I've seen a couple episodes of Supergirl, and I was like, all right, that's enough. And I watched Man of Steel, and I was like, all right, I'm good. I will watch one. I watched Wonder Woman, and I was like, oh, please no more. Like even the first one, like I watched Wonder Woman '84, and I was like, oh god damn, I was so upset that I like got myself to watch another one. Every time I watch one, I regret it. I seriously do. So there's probably some good product out there. I have not seen Shazam. I've heard some good things about it, but I just feel like every time I give him a shot, I feel bad about it.
Well, I really don't like what Snyder did with the DC product, and
No.
he has had a lot of influence on whatever DC has been doing. He even has producer credit for the Suicide Squad, but I'm pretty confident James Gunn wrote and directed the movie. He will probably said, hey, he probably taught Zack Snyder how to make a fun movie. So. I have every faith that will be the best DC movie made in the recent 10 years.
I did not watch BVS, mostly because when I was watching Man of Steel, I was like, the way you're crafting narrative here is not making it. But so I didn't watch BVS, and then I heard, you don't want to base everything off reviews. I get that. You need to see stuff yourself. But it was just so bad to me that I have no interest in even. I'm not interested. But I watched when he came out with the Justice League, his cut. I watched it, and I was seriously sitting in the room with my brother, who you know very well, and like we would pause it every hour because it's a long ass movie. It really is, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with a long movie. But we would sit there and recount, okay, what happened the last hour? And there'd be like a couple of significant things. And it really felt like it just drug on and on. I cut an hour easily out of that movie, like no problem. And it would probably be, two. But there were other things. I don't want to get too detailed into that specific movie, but there were other things that I was watching in it that like still didn't make any sense in a Zack Snyder sort of way. Just like the scene works and then you start thinking about it. Like my favorite is the car wreck scene where she had just pulled away from the curb and she gets in a flipping car wreck going
impossible.
What was she going, like 10 miles an hour? I did stuff like that, but I'm like, wow.
Let's just say I saw an accident on the F1 race on Silverstone last weekend.
Right.
where they hit each other on the wheel with 300 kilometers an hour,
Mhm.
and okay, that was a crash, which was still less than the crash the girl experienced in the Snyder Cut. But
That's what
anyway,
I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, I don't
you
want
know
to
what
talk.
it is with Snyder?
What's that?
He's awesome with visuals, and whether it's Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, or his Justice League, there is a good movie in his movie somewhere.
Yes.
Only he makes it so huge, so
Right.
big, that he cannot handle the weight of the movie and it collapses on itself. And
Right.
um, if he learns to edit better or write better, I think he would be one of the greatest filmmakers working today. Only that's his problem: his writing and his editing. It's he wants to do too much, and yeah, it just gets too bombastic. But okay,
I agree with you. Like, so you could have staged that car wreck in a different way. Just have the bus almost hitting the car instead of the other way around, and it would be a great scene. Like, but I can't get around thinking. Like, I can't do the just don't think about it thing, because the moment you realize that, you're like, what do you? Why didn't you think? Like, why? Just like, I don't get it. Like, and another thing just about that film, like, it works. Like, any one scene feels like it works, except it's like always dramatic. Every scene is the most intense thing you've ever seen, and like, I feel like he can't take a breath and just do something different for a little while and have some different aesthetic or
but
different tone
it
going on
feels like it's big and important, but it's
all the
actually
time.
not. But it's
All the
not.
time.
But it's actually not.
Right, I agree. It's not. It's just somebody staring out a window with the most dramatic music playing ever, and you're like,
Before we
relax.
get a lot of comments, we're hating on DC. No, we're not hating on DC. We actually love DC, and we want to see better products from them. That's how we view this. I mean, and we hope we will get that with the Suicide Squad, and maybe also with the Batman. Matt Reeves, the Batman.
Right.
Are you interested in that?
Well, okay. So, I mean, you could probably already tell that I'm not all that interested in it, but mostly that's because I've seen a lot of Batman already. I don't really feel like a need to see more Batman. I don't. I think it looks good. I do. So I'm not going into it saying like it's not bad. But I mean, we've already had like how many Batman have we had at this point? Like, I just feel like Batman's kind of run its course for me. Maybe it's because I'm
We
a
had
little.
more Batman actors than we had James Bond actors, and Batman only started in 1989 when
Right.
James Bond was almost 20 movies in.
You know what? You bring up a good point. I will confess, right back here on this shelf, right here, I've got all the James Bond movies. So I'm being completely unfair. I've seen a lot of James Bond movies, and I love each one that comes out. So I might be a hypocrite here. I'll just go ahead and confess, but I'm not particularly looking forward to more Batman. I'll just say that.
Well, I am. Speaking of Bond, it's really time to get No Time to Die.
It really is. You know, I feel bad for Craig because I remember like a bunch of years ago, like 5 years ago, they were talking about him setting a record for the most number of films, and they've just had problems like with delays and getting films out for legal reasons and other types of things that.
Yeah, No Time to Die had new directors coming in, I think, and it's written again or something like that.
Yeah, they've had rewrites. They've had legal issues that have come up that have held up filming and production, and of course COVID and all that stuff. So it's unfortunate for Craig. There was a time that they were really thinking he was going to get 8 films in, and he's going to wind up with 5, which is fine. But it felt like he was going to have a bigger portfolio than he's going to wind up having. 5 is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Brosnan had 4, Dalton had 2, Lazenby had 1. So it's not like he's in the minority exactly.
You're in that scene. Is there already talk about who's going to be the next James Bond? There's always talk about who's going to be the next James Bond, but any clues on who is actually going to be the next James Bond?
No, because what happens every single time this comes up is anybody with a British accent gets named as a possible James Bond, and nobody knows who it's going to be. I'll tell you, last time nobody predicted Craig. Like, almost nobody predicted Craig.
Tom Hiddleston.
I would love Tom Hiddleston, actually. I think he'd be great. I think he fits the more classic sort of look of a James Bond, too, like the Connery sort of.
Can you combine the Bond franchise and the MCU? That's a question, because Loki is far from done. That's clear.
Combine it?
Yeah, be James Bond and be Loki at the same
Oh,
time.
can he be both? Yeah, sure, I think so. It depends on what kind of plans for him they have in the MCU, but yeah, I think he could do it. I don't see why not. Like Loki demands some activity, so it's not like he's gaining and losing weight or something like that for some other type of role. I think he'd be fine. I think he could do that. I mean, Bond actors have historically taken other roles in between James Bond filmings, so I don't think that's a problem.
Okay, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Okay. Well, there are still some few franchises we can talk about. Star Wars. Have you been watching the Bad Batch?
No, I haven't. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am following the show. I actually really like it. It's a show that starts off a little bit slow, but yeah, it needs to develop. But slowly the story is developing. It's set actually right after the Revenge of the Sith. Is it? Yeah,
Okay.
Revenge of the Sith. So right after the Empire starts to exist, actually it literally starts when the Empire takes over. You see that. You see the Order 66. That's the beginning of the show.
Okay.
Yeah, it deals about a squad of original clones, which are a little bit special, and well, they don't fall into the army. Into the clone army after the Empire takes over, and they flee the cloning facility, and there's a stowaway kid, which is also clone Omega, and well, they have to survive. So basically, they acting as mercenaries, and well, you see slowly they meet all kinds of characters. I think also from cartoons like the Clone Wars and Rebels.
Right.
And they are, yeah, they're trying to survive in this new rising empire.
Right.
Ming-Na is back as Fennec Shand. We saw her on The Mandalorian season 1 and 2. But now she's in animation, of course, but she still voices the character as a bounty hunter, which is quite nice. And yeah, I recommend the show.
Nice.
It's usually half an hour every week, and yeah, I really enjoy it, and I intend to keep following it. Live action. What I heard, The Mandalorian season 3 is finally in production.
Okay, good.
That news came out earlier this week. The Book of Boba Fett has been produced. That will come out in December.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, really do. And yeah, of course, they also produced or are producing Obi-Wan, the show, live action, which I'm also looking forward to. Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader or whatever.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I wonder what they're gonna do. Young Obi-Wan, I can never remember his name. What's his face? Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, he's also back for that show, so I'm really looking forward to that. So
I just watched the Doctor Sleep, by the way, pretty recently. I just saw that, so I love Ewan. He's been in a lot of different things, and I really enjoy him. By the way, just for the record, I haven't avoided the Bad Batch for any particular reason. My Star Wars fandom is interested, but not must see, if that makes any sense. But I think a lot of it is really great, and I support everybody.
I'm still struggling with the first season or second season of the Clone Wars, so it's not something that but since this cartoon was new, I figure I will just start following it, and actually I'm quite into it. So if you're not watching the Bad Batch, I recommend it.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. How many episodes is it, by the way?
I think we're now at episode 13 or something. So
do you know what the season is? Like, is it like?
No, I have no clue. Every week one episode drops, so it's. And in the first week they drop 2, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. So the first one is an hour long, and the rest is half an hour. So it's the pilot is 1 hour long. It's. Well, I like it. It's not awesome, but it's certainly not bad, and I enjoy it. So It's yeah, it's it's a good animated show.
I will give it a shot. I will definitely give it a shot.
Well, yeah. At least I recommend it to everybody.
I'll check it out.
Okay.
I like your recommendations, man. If you're recommending it, I have to give it a shot.
Well, well, we can talk about Star Trek, but that not much going on. They dropped some trailers for Lower Decks season 2 and Star Trek Prodigy, which will come out on Paramount Plus, Nickelodeon.
Right.
2 animated shows that are running. Discovery season 4 is in production. Picard season 2 is in production. Of course, you have Strange New Worlds, which they are currently working on. So there's a lot coming, but there's not much going on.
I still have not yet finished my original series run, so I've got to get back to that. I've got a lot going on, man.
I know you have been busy. We've been missing you on the review of Loki the last weeks, but yeah, we understand why. So yeah, it's the way it is, right?
But I'm back home.
It cannot always be fun and games, right?
No, can't always be. But I'm back, and I'm glad we're having this. So this is solid stuff.
Yeah. Well, we have a trailer to discuss, so we're gonna do a little section called trailer talk, and we're gonna do that right now. That's the Dune trailer we're gonna talk about. You saw it?
I did see it, yeah, man. So one, I just felt the vibe of it with the music and everything was really engaging. Like, you know what? Like, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. Like, I really wanted to see it. I don't know a whole lot about Dune. I remember watching the original miniseries. And it was a bit of a struggle for me, but I thought they had a lot of material there.
You mean the David Lynch movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a movie, but they cut it probably up.
Oh yeah, the one I saw was like cut up a bit, so I could be a little wrong there. But the it was hard to digest for me a little bit, but I've been interested in it more. Like, that was a long time ago. I was pretty young. Maybe it was, maybe it was just a little more involved.
Yeah, I've seen it 20 years ago. A guy from work I knew back then said I should check it out. I watched that movie, but back then it was already old for that time, early 2000s. So, well, imagine how it is now if you want to watch it. I saw the beginning again a few weeks back, a year ago actually, when the first trailer dropped. But I tried to look at it again. I thought, no, I will save it for Denis Villeneuve version of Dune. I really love both trailers.
No, absolutely. And I always thought that was one of those series that really deserved sort of like a remake and a modern sort of retelling. So I'm actually really interested in it. I don't know a ton about it, and I sort of like to keep it that way, but it looks like they're taking it super seriously. It looks like it's going to be like an epic sort of sci-fi adventure, and I love that. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. I love the parts in the trailer too where there was a lot of relationship with the young kid and his father, and I'm intrigued. Like, it really got me interested in it. So I'm legitimately curious and eager to go and see that.
Yeah, me the same. I absolutely love the aesthetics of the trailer, the music, the visuals. A great cast, by the way. I mean, is there somebody who's not in that movie? I don't know, but it's I haven't seen Tom Holland, but the rest of Hollywood is in the movie, and it looks amazing. I mean, and I really like the work of Denis Villeneuve. I've seen Prisoners, I've seen Arrival, of course, and I've seen Blade Runner 2049. Which is one of my favorite sci-fi movies of the last 10 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think he's my favorite director working today, and he's great with visuals, but also knows how to tell a story. And still, his movies are badass long. I mean, Blade Runner 2049, you don't get through easily.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's a great director. Knows how characters work. He gives actors the chance to shine. I mean, he could even make Jeremy Renner pull off being a professor. So, well, if you can do that, you can do anything. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the trailer. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend it to check it out. And yeah, I think June will be the movie of the year.
Dune will be the movie of
Yeah,
the year.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
I like I said on the board, and I immediately got a reaction that it's heresy, but I don't care. But I have never been so excited for an MCU movie as I have been, as I am now for Dune. So yeah,
Wow, really?
yeah.
That's impressive.
No, but it's yeah. I mean, Star Wars was based on this book series, huh? So
Right.
yeah, it's not like it's a legendary property, and yeah, like you said, it deserves a modern remake or retelling of the story. And yeah, and I have the feeling it will be a bit like Blade Runner 2049, and it will be a bit like Eternals, in the sense that it may not be for everybody.
Right. It's possible. If it's anything like so, like you mentioned Arrival earlier, which I really enjoyed. If it's anything like that, I think it's going to be an enjoyable sci-fi film. That film, by the way, really reminds me of Contact, which is one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time. If you've never seen Contact, I
Yeah, I
love
have.
right. I love slow build, sort of realistic. You know, what would happen if we encountered sort of alien civilization, sort of like that kind of thing in a real sort of way. And I think both Arrival and Contact both do that. I know Dune is not sort of presented as a realistic, alien encounter type of thing, but it still feels like almost a Star Trekian like realistic environment, like how would an alien civilization function, and I'm interested in that. I think it looks good, so I think it's great. I'm actually really happy with the fact that it doesn't look like it's the over the top action film that a lot of sci-fi films tend to need to be. So I like that it looks like more of a civilization type of film, which is great.
Yeah, it's yeah. It feels like everything I like, and
Right.
I always been a sci-fi nerd, and yeah, it feels indeed a little bit like Trek. It feels a little bit like Star Wars, uh, and yeah, uh, it just it just appeals to me, to my core, for what I like about movies, and it feels like a movie that's a little bit more deep than your regular blockbuster, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
saying there's no depth to the blockbusters, because there's always something in there which you can enjoy. There's always another level in those kind of movies than the visual spectacle or the normal blah blah blah, if you know what I mean. Regular action movie or superhero movie or whatever. There's always another level in those kind of movies, but this feels like it's really on another level, if you know what I mean. And yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to a lot.
Cool. No, I agree. It looks like that's where they're going with it. So I'm interested because I feel like sometimes people are afraid to do movies like that, and now like it has to be a big action romp, and like I don't feel like that's what they feel like they need to do with this, and I think that's the right move. I think that's the way this needs to be treated. So I'm really into it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Denis Villeneuve never made really like a movie that made a lot of money, but he has made a lot of good movies, and sometimes the quality of a movie is also important to the studios. And kudos to Warner Brothers that they keep their faith in this director, because he makes awesome movies, and not every movie needs to make $1 billion to be successful. You can also be successful on an intellectual level, on a quality level, in my view.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that wraps up our podcast for this week. And I want to thank you all for listening and watching. Please remember to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, or follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page, and of course join our forum on Sakar, sakar.freeforums.net. And that way we will never have to miss you, and we won't have to miss us. Bye.